This is the 63rd episode of the Effective Executive and podcast and YouTube channel. Lost it there for a second. And this week I want to talk about what you really need to do to be the best. You know, we've talked about innovation and things of that sort. And it's funny, when we were all locked down for COVID, I started improving on my trading capabilities, stocks. I don't really trade in bonds, but commodities, indices, things of that sort. And one of the things that I noticed as I watched YouTube videos and read things was I was able to improve over time, even though I had a method I'd been using for probably hadn't changed much in maybe 10 years. And as I went out, I started to discover other ways of trading. Sometimes it would improve on stocks and maybe not on commodities and things of that sort. I began to experiment. And I found better ways to trade. And because I experimented with those things and had time to do so, I improved my swing trading. I played around a little bit with the day trading thing. I had some success in that also, but more, I think the emphasis that I want to talk about in this episode is that you can improve your organization over time by just looking for something else, trying new things. And yeah, this bleeds a little bit over into innovation and improving your product or service and constantly having a flow, a pipeline of new ideas that you're testing out within your organization. And I got to tell you, not many organizations do it. It's less than 5%. According to statistics that I've seen online, where people are proactively looking for ways to innovate their products and services. So you need a method for that. Now, I provide a method. If you got one, great. Then you're probably in good shape. But one of the things that I noticed too online, as I went through YouTube channels and everything, is everybody kind of had their own method. And most traders find a method that works for them and then they stop. And there is infinite possibilities associated with improving your ability to do, whether it's swing trading or day trading or investing. You can do so much better. And I won't get into my opinion about financial folks, but more often than not, they're not looking out for your best interests. But regardless, executives need to do the same thing. And if you're going to be the best, people, it's so funny. Every organization typically is doing something like Lean or Six Sigma or Agile or Scrum. And it's maybe what's been sold to them or just they've experienced in previous organizations. So they bring it over from a different organization, or maybe that's the background that they came from. I would have not built the 95 method had I not been trying to improve upon those things. And because I experimented with them, I came up with something that, well, I know it's superior to those methods. But, because it's not the mainstream, it's not really looked at by some of the larger organizations or organizations that are using Lean, Six Sigma, Agile, Scrum, whatever methods that they have within their organizations. And I think they make a huge mistake, not just because of my method, but just going out and looking for new ways to go about and do things. And, it's one of the things I strive to do is because I do have a background, in Lean and Six Sigma and Master Black Belt and all that stuff, and working with software organizations and Agile and Scrum and those types of things, that those aren't the best ways, in my opinion. And you really never know until you try something differently. But the one thing I do know is, and I've warned in these episodes before, is that you got to avoid copying. In other words, just because it worked in another organization, the new organization you're in, it may not be the best method for you to use. Bringing things from other organizations, this gets into synthetic thinking, that the new organization that you're in has different people, it's got different customers, it's a different system, and that's why I always suggest executives you start at that from that standpoint of understanding the system that you're in first and how it plays, how it operates as a system. And that's synthetic thinking, and developing those skills, I think, should be at the top of the list for any executive, whether you're going to a new organization, whether you're a veteran executive, or whether you aspire to be one. And that's my target audience for these episodes. You know, developing those synthetic thinking skills also gives you new ideas, new ways of looking at things. But I've warned about copying and bringing things from other organizations for that reason, because systems are different. And the one thing I do know is that, you know, you go to certain organizations, and let's say a hospital, and they're all doing Lean, you know, and they may have their version of Lean or whatever, and you're going to have some variation there, but it's all based off of kind of the same thinking, if you will. And, you know, copying other organizations, whether it's a competitor, an organization that you came from, or whatever, will always leave you behind. And you just need to pause for a moment and think about that, because copying, if you copy something, you are always behind whoever it is that you're copying. So this needs to be a constant. If you really want to be the best executive, organization, whatever it is, that you're constantly going out there and looking for new ideas and new ways of doing things within your organization. There are infinite number of ideas. You never have the best method. Lean is not the best method. Six Sigma, not the best method. Agile, not. Scrum, not. They're not the best methods. There is always a better way. And that's the things that making working in organizations very exciting, is that there is always the next thing. There's always something, and often it's built off of the things that preceded it. But sometimes it's starting, all over again from maybe a philosophy or whatever it might be. So my message this week is, as an executive, if you want to be the best, you can't stop where you are. You must always be looking for the next thing, or new ideas, new methods, things of that sort. And remembering that just copying what everybody else is doing always leaves you behind. That's the message I wanted to convey this week. See you next week.